Well, good morning, everybody. I'm here today with Ken McNeely, who is Western Region Vice President for AT&T. This is Tom Gurr with Pacific Technology Alliance, of course. Ken, I know you're a very busy guy, have a lot on your schedule. We really appreciate you taking a few minutes to sit down and chat with us today.
Happy to be here, Tom. Thank you for the invitation.
Great. Thank you. Typically in our these tech policy talks, we chat about whatever is the most pressing technological issue of the day, whether it's a rural broadband or it might be privacy or whatever the issue is. But today I wanted to chat with Ken about something a little more pressing, a little more important, sort of the social context that we find ourselves in today. Ken released a statement that I thought was very important, that had a lot of really good story to tell in it, and I think it's really an important issue that we wanted to take a few minutes to chat with him about. So, Ken, I guess for starters, why don't you tell us just real quickly a little bit about your professional biography, sort of your story at AT&T and what that looks like.
Sure, Tom. Happy to. I'm completing my 28th year with AT&T now. I started in Atlanta, Georgia, as a corporate litigator, and I came on as a trial attorney. But because of there's so much of an interplay between regulation and law, I quickly found myself on the business side, and so I've been out in San Francisco now for about 20 years, leading up the West Coast operations for AT&T, and loving every minute of it.
Oh, good. Well, and sort of moving into a little more serious part of the conversation. In reference to your statement, give us a sense of your personal journey and how the events of the last few weeks and months have impacted your life and your perspective on sort of the social context we find ourselves in today.
Sure, Tom. I mean, I think that there are probably few amongst us, especially people of color and specifically African Americans, who haven't been moved by the events of the last few months. As you referenced, issued a statement to all of our employees. Well, I reflected on the moment and had to admit that I was jolted and shocked and really vacillated from extreme anxiety and grief to hope and an opportunity, and that I really saw and really thought of this moment as a real pivotal point for us in America, a real reckoning of some of the legacy issues that I think, quite frankly, the country has not dealt with. And I invited my colleagues to have tough discussions, to understand what's going on. And in fact, I recall inviting them to listen, and to listen not to agree or disagree, but really to listen to understand from their colleagues of color, and specifically their Black colleagues. And if they didn't have a Black friend to talk to ask these experiences, go out and find one, because I think it's so critically important for us to have these discussions, and also gave people the opportunity to make mistakes. I think that we are all entering a time where discussion is essential. It's not going to be easy, and it probably will not be very eloquent at the beginning. But I think it's important that we try, and I urged my colleagues to do just that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. And I think your statement is worth reviewing for folks who haven't seen it. We can post it up on our site along with this video. So as a leader in the tech sector and a senior executive with a major tech company, how, in your view, has the tech sector managed sort of some of this conversation and specifically sort of the changes they have made or haven't made, or what ways can they do to, what steps can they take to improve?
I think, in all honesty, it's mixed. We have a very mixed record. I think that our industry has been very good at being a great advocate for some progressive issues around the environment. But where we have fallen down really is with respect to some of the social justice opportunities right here in the U.S. And we really needn't look further than our own ranks. I've had the great opportunity over the last several months through our CEO's leadership to really champion some of the work of the Business Roundtable. I do think that the business has a responsibility and obligation to help impact change. We can't rely on government itself to cure, but I think that by businesses leading leading in this fight, by sharing our concerns with elected officials, that we together can really impact change. But as we step out and we try to impact public policy, we also have to be ready to have that mirror turned back on us so that we can challenge ourselves to ensure that we are doing everything we can do for equity and inclusion within our own ranks. And that's where we as a tech community have fallen terribly short.
Hmm. And I guess importantly, as a sort of a follow-up to that, what steps, in your view, can we all take as just human beings to improve the situation, to make changes in our own lives and our own approach that will matter, that will make a difference?
Sure. I think we have, I truly believe that we all see the world through, we've all had our own journey, and we view the world through a certain lens, and that lens is informed by our life experiences. And those experiences inform everything that we do, the decisions that we make, our management style, how we engage socially. Those are the kinds of things that we really need to be aware of. But we also need to be aware that there's a great diversity of lens and experiences that we all bring to the table. And we need to understand that some of that comes from a place of privilege. I've talked about that in white society. I mean, that's considered the norm, and anything that deviates from that white lived experience it's considered different. And I think that in order for us to better understand that, I've really challenged my white colleagues to own that and to understand that, and not to apologize for it, but to understand it, and to understand that there are different experiences that their colleagues, that many of their colleagues have, that do add a very enriching quality of life and business experience to the table. Particularly as we deal with marketplaces that are dramatically changing over time. We know the demographics of the country and how they're changing. And I think that the marketplace will drive further change and really underscore the importance of these different lived experiences, and how those different experiences need to be reflected at board tables and executive suites. Because I think to not do that is to leave money on the table. To not do that is really not to be responsive. It's to be not responsive to your growing customer base. So I think that those companies that succeed in the 21st century will be those companies that are able to embrace diversity and inclusion, because it reflects the marketplace. It reflects that diversity of experience and that diversity of services and products that their customers will demand.
Well, I think it's a really important conversation. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us, Ken. I thought like I say, I thought your statement was critically important, and something that I felt like we should be chatting about, and to drive a broader conversation around these critical issues that we're facing today. So I appreciate the time. I want to say to your family and to your colleagues there at AT&T, please stay safe, be well, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom. I'm delighted to. Thank you for having me.